Greetings and welcome to Ignite Humanity Live. That's right, you're here with Lady JB Owen, CEO and founder of Ignite Publishing, Ignite Humanity, and Ignite Moments. And I'm here to share with you some beautiful tips, tricks, strategies, and ideas on ways that you can step into igniting humanity. Now, we're getting lots of floods of calls and feedback from everybody. Igniting humanity, what does that mean? Tell me more. And so we're so excited to share that now more than ever, we need to come together as a society, a community, one another, binding together to create a better humanity for all of us. The next generation, the next millennia, what is it going to look like? Well, we want it to be the best possible ever. And so we're sharing with you incredible guests, people around the globe who are doing phenomenal things that are igniting humanity, because we know that when we step into the better version of ourselves, we empower others to be a better version of themselves. And that will create a magnificent ripple effect around the planet. And so if you're here today, thank you and welcome, because we're talking to some incredible guests. I have a wonderful guest today, a very good friend of mine, and we're going to be sharing with you ways that you can ignite humanity. Now, a lot of people have said, sounds big, sounds bold, sounds like something I cannot do. But what I want to share is you can, in your community, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city. There are so many things that you can do to inspire others, uplift them, give them hope, connect with them, create some friendship, some camaraderie, the ability to lift them up. Just one person can make a huge difference. We've seen many people throughout history, one single person who has made a massive impact. And we want to inspire you to be one of those people. Now, each and every day we have a different theme, and today's theme is actually inspiration. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of ways to inspire you to step into the ability to ignite others. And I have to feel like it's all of our responsibilities. Each and every one of us are responsible for making the world a better place. And if we can ignite our own lives and ignite the lives of others, we can really make an impact with humanity. And that's where I'm headed. All right, well, let's get right into it. I'm super excited to welcome our guest, Mr. Gordon So. Now, Gordon's been a very good friend of mine for quite a few years. Welcome to the show, Gordon. Let me tell people a little bit about you, but welcome and good morning.
Thank you, JB. Thank you.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So Gordon and I met a few years ago, and it was a fantastic introduction because we met through a friend of a friend. And as you know, birds of a feather flock together, and you really are a reflection of your friends. So little tip, first tip of the day, surround yourself with really great people, because those people are going to introduce you to really great people. And Gordon and I met for lunch just as an introduction, and we had a fantastic hit it out of the park meeting. So many synergetic ideas and willingness and wantingness to help others. And it has been a beautiful friendship ever since. This gentleman truly supports me. And folks, you always want to have people in your corner that believe in you and supported you. And I just want to say publicly to the world, to the thousands and thousands of people that are watching, Gordon So is one of those people that absolutely supports you. I will share with you that he has a strong background in real estate and mortgage industry, where he first learned how to develop client relationships and top selling skills. With over 20 years in direct sales and network marketing, he has learned how to build, train, and motivate massive teams in over 20 countries around the world. In the past 6 years, he has developed and proven marketing strategies to help authors and speakers, trainers, and consultants grow their social media, their digital marketing, their online strategies. I so agree. Just 2 days ago, I'm just flipping through Facebook, and there's Gordon on Facebook Live, free, just pouring into people fantastic tips and strategies. And so welcome to Ignite Humanity Live, my very good friend.
Wow, thank you so much, JB. For a minute, I thought you were talking about my brother.
No, I'm talking about you. One of my, just someone who inspires me. And that's a great segue into today. We're talking about ways that we can inspire one another. You inspire me, and I know you inspire others. You're doing some really great things. Tell us a little bit about you in your own words.
Wow, that's amazing. JB, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
And all the amazing things you said. I mean, I've got to give it back to you. You have been an inspiration for me. since the day we met. I still remember meeting you in Greektown, right here in Toronto, um, for lunch. And ironically enough, I just spent the month in Hong Kong, and my last meal in Hong Kong, of all places, was actually at a beautiful Greek restaurant. So we'll have to meet in Greektown again when you're here. It's been amazing. It's been a great ride since meeting you. The things you have done is also ignite moments in my life and inspire me. You know, the things you do with building schools in Indonesia. You and Peter riding was what was it, like 10,000 kilometers? I mean, I'm still trying
Yes,
to
we did 10,000 kilometers.
yeah, I'm still trying to ride a tricycle. And here's the two of you, right, riding a bicycle built for two to help, just bring awareness and raise funds for charity. That's inspiring. And what you just did in India, I mean, taking a group to go see the Dalai Lama and what you want to do in the future. That's absolutely incredible, JB. So I got to give that back to you.
Thank you so much. And I got to share, it's people like you who always encourage me and lift me up. And I was in Niagara Falls
Mm,
while I was cycling across Canada, and I just want to say, Gordon picked up the phone and just happened to phone the mayor of Niagara Falls, telling him that we were in town, and we connected and had a beautiful, life-changing experience in Niagara Falls, thanks to Jim, the mayor, and it was just phenomenal. And again, that's what friends do for each other. And that is really how we ignite humanity. We support one another, we uplift one another. And so, right back at you, my friend.
awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a great time. And Jim is just a phenomenal human being. So in terms of igniting people's lives and changing people's lives, humanity, he's done a phenomenal job. If you guys ever
Yeah,
get a
we're
chance
going to
to visit Niagara Falls, please, get,
absolutely. I'm going to have an event in Niagara Falls, and I'm going to have Jim on the
let's
show.
do
So,
it.
see, it's a ripple effect. This is exactly what we're talking about. And so,
Yes.
just take a moment. Let's give the audience something to do. Take a moment and think of the people in your lives that really support you, like the people that are in your corner, and reach out to them today. Make an
Yeah.
effort to connect with
Absolutely.
somebody today that is really, and maybe it's not a huge thing, it's not a big thing, but internally and instinctually and on an emotional level, you feel supported by them. Reaching out and just saying, hey, I just want to say thank you. You've been a great friend. Thanks for always being in my corner. That alone sends out a ripple effect of empowering and inspiring to one another, because when you uplift them,
Yes.
maybe they were in a bad mood, but they go out and help somebody else, or they do something, or they
Wow.
really, support another person. And so, Gordon, thank you for just allowing us to show the listeners, what's possible. All right, well, let's go back to you. So, you've been in business for many, many years. You're very, very successful. You're moving the needle in your community. Tell us a little bit about your zone of genius.
Awesome. Well, what do you start, right? Maybe I can, if it's okay, JB, I'll go back to my parents immigrating here to Canada because the projects I'm working on right now is called Land for Success with my business partner JJ Canthan. And the idea of Land for Success was, both Jay and I are immigrant kids, and how many of us are either immigrants or know somebody who have immigrated here to Canada? And I'm not sure about you, but I remember, the stories we would always hear from our parents or grandparents or Uncle Luigi or somebody. You're having dinner and they're like, "Oh man, like you should have seen when I was young, right?" Or my dad would say, "Hey, if you think you have it bad, when I came to Canada, I had 50 cents and an apple in my pocket, right?" So they all have amazing stories of some of the challenges, the struggles that they went through. And we thought, well, Jay and I, we had some challenges and struggles went through as well. I came here when I was around 8 or 9, and he came here as a teenager. So we all had kind of like different things that we struggled through, but we had stories, and we thought, well, why not write and publish a book called Land for Success where people can share their stories? And then a friend of ours said, well, I'm not an immigrant, but I am successful in law. um, would I be able to share my story? And the answer is yes. And so when I reflect back, JB, to my parents immigrating from Hong Kong, and I just spent a month there with my son and my grandchildren, but the place where I came from it was called Diamond Hill. Now, JB, we all heard that what's a
Yeah.
what's a girl's best friend, right?
Right.
What's a girl's, diamonds. We always hear diamonds a girl's best friend, but if you actually look up Diamond Hill in Hong Kong, back in maybe the 60s. So when my parents immigrated from China to Hong Kong, people who immigrated from China to Hong Kong ended up in, if you didn't have a place to live, you ended up in Diamond Hill, and they were squatter homes, tin roofs, no running water. So it wasn't really like what it sounds, right?
Like the diamond that we're all thinking.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, if this is a PG show or what I can say or not say, but you know how some people say, you don't have a pot to pee in? Well, we
Yeah.
didn't. Like, we grew up with no running water. And as a kid, I still remember we had a bucket, right? That was our bathroom. So I'm not sure in that story for anybody to say, hey, I want you to feel sorry for me. But when you take a look at stories from immigrants and stories from business owners and entrepreneurs, because as being an entrepreneur, it could be lonely, it could be tough, it could be challenging, financially challenging, emotional. So we go through a lot of struggles. And I went through a lot of that. And all through all those years, there was always maybe somebody there that I looked up to. Like you said earlier, JB, it could be somebody just with a friendly smile, a friendly pat in the back that says, hey, kid, it's okay. Right?
Yeah, you
Just
can
keep
do
going.
it. You got this. I'm in your corner. Mhm.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, Keith, has been a mentor for 40 some odd years now. And I remember the one thing Keith always said to me, he said, Gordon, remember, every day above ground is a good day.
Mhm.
And so during, some of the toughest days, that's the times when I had to learn gratitude and how to be grateful. And so when you said earlier, there's somebody right now that you could reach out and call and just say, hi, how's it going? And maybe that's all somebody needs out there is, that compassion for us to be able to reach out and say, hey, how are you doing?
It's good that you say that because, I was born and raised in Canada. And of course, this is my home and my country. But it's really beautiful for us to just take a moment and a pause to realize that many other people live in Canada or many other countries and they are immigrants. That's not their home. That's
Yes.
not where they were born. And
Mm.
so, as grateful as they are to live in their new homeland or their new country, there's still a part of them that grew up, learned, came from another culture, other traditions, and they are injected into a new culture and a new community. And sometimes we forget that. We really
Yeah.
forget that they're feeling not from home. They're not feeling exactly the way they would if they were in their home. And so, great other suggestion, folks. If you see somebody today that is an immigrant in your country, wherever you are in the world, and that person has come from another place and this is a new home to them, just be a little bit more welcoming, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more aware, a little bit more compassionate, because we are all trying to live our best lives. We are all trying to seek a better version of ourselves, and coming to a new country is obviously on that journey. And so just show a little bit of grace to yourself and to people who are around you that are immigrants. So, Gordon, immigrant to this country, fantastic story. And you didn't let growing up in Diamond Hill stop you or hold
Mm.
you back. And I really want you to share about that, because some people, and we talk about stories all the time, and if you are a viewer of Ignite Humanity Live, you're going to know that sharing our authentic stories is really one of our baselines. That's really an important part of creating connection, is sharing your stories. So you came from these humble beginnings, and yet you didn't let that define you or stop you. Talk a little bit about that.
Wow. JB, I think a lot of that came from my mom. We all talk about, heroes in our lives, and most of us, our moms are our heroes. And so my mom raised five of us. My dad was going to school, working in England and sending money back, I suppose. And I didn't have a dad growing up. Not because he left us, but he was not there. So my mom raised the five of us. She had no education. For her, she was an
Wow.
immigrant to a new country as well. And her work ethic was just unbelievable. And I remember my sister and I actually had lunch yesterday together. And we were reminiscing about the days when she was saying my mom would be up till 3 in the morning, right? Putting plastic flowers together just to make ends meet. Does that make sense? Or do you remember gloves? We have winter gloves and you have the padding in front of the gloves, like sewn padding on the gloves. But it seemed like she always had a smile on her face. And as a kid, I don't think we ever felt like we were poor. Like you were just in India, right? Now we know
Mm,
what poor is. And there's places like
right.
in Hong Kong as well. So I was just in Hong Kong for the month. And you go back to Diamond Hill now. Back then, if you had a Mercedes Benz and you broke down, you wouldn't stay there. You want to keep going, right? Now you go to Diamond Hill, and every second car is part of your Mercedes Benz. The folks that are driving Ubers drive. They don't just drive a car; they drive some of the most expensive
A
Teslas.
Tesla. I know. I was in a Uber Tesla.
Yeah, right. And you've got like 18-year-old kids that are buying Ferraris. Like it's
Wow.
buying, just there's so much wealth over there now. But back then, I look at somebody like my mom who never quit, who never gave up. And if I could share a story with you, and it leads me back to a project that I want to do in Hong Kong this year to give back. When you talk about giving back to humanity, but I remember saying to my mom a few years after we immigrated here, because she would cook me. I was the youngest in the family, and she would cook me. I come home from school, she would cook for me like macaroni and cheese, and it didn't come out of a box. Like she actually like, I mean, if she was Italian, it would have been like the best macaroni and cheese with meat and cheese, and I would have like almost a gourmet meal every single day when I came home from school. It wasn't steak or something else. And one day I said to her, Mom, when are we going to have peanut butter and rice again? And I really meant it because growing up in Hong Kong, that was my favorite meal. And I could see my mom starting to tear up. Do you guys ever have a mom that's so tough you never see them cry? That was
Right.
my mom. And she started to tear up, JB, and I kind of knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I was probably like 9 or 10 at the time. And here's the reason why she teared up. She couldn't afford to buy anything else
Mm,
to go with the meal. So all she could afford was peanut butter and rice. But as a child, for me, it was normal,
right.
peanut butter and rice. So when I was in Hong Kong this time around, and I went out for dinner with some folks where they don't look at the price, the menu,
Right.
right? To spend 4 or 5 grand on a meal for them, it's nothing. And so when we think about humanity and we think about poverty, let's say, because so many of us here that are watching and listening, I'm sure there's amazing things you're doing to give back to community, to charity. But as I'm looking at these individuals, I'm thinking Napoleon Hill says that both riches and poverty are the offsprings of thoughts. What are you thinking
Right.
about? And you are such an incredible leader, JB. You're always inspiring, motivating, teaching people how to step into their greatness, right? Ignite their great moments by books and whatever it is. So I go back and I look at individuals like that. What separates individuals? Their mindset, right? Why do some stay in poverty and some are so wealthy? Because I was with some folks this past month where I used to joke about some people are so wealthy they could smoke cigars with $1,000 bills,
Mm,
and it doesn't matter. But some of these folks they could smoke cigars with $10,000 bills, and it probably doesn't matter. But they're so wealthy. But there was one individual that I met who has a family member that has an illness that can't be cured. And this individual was sharing with me that Gordon, he says, I've got all the wealth in the world, but I've got a family member that is sick, but I can't buy that person their health.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
think that's a thought that's really important for me is, we talk about wealth. Sometimes we want to help people ignite to become a better business owner, a better entrepreneur, to make a lot of money. So money's important. Anybody that tells you money's not important, tell them to send the money, put it in an envelope, send it to me and JB, and we'll figure out what to do
Give
with
it
it.
to our charities. But I
Yeah.
want you to extrapolate on that a little bit because it is mindset. There is this deep understanding of if I will never make it, I'll never make it. If it's not for me, it's going to not be for me. And we talk a lot about how what you believe you achieve, what you think you create. And so you are a huge proponent of the Think and Grow Rich. philosophies. You work with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. You have multiple ways that you give back. Just share a little bit, one way that people can shift their thinking, shift their thoughts, one thought that they can continue to ruminate on that will help propel them forward in their own lives.
Yeah. So I think belief is really important, right? So Napoleon Hill says you have to think it, ink it, and then achieve it. So everything starts with the mind, right? Whatever the mind of man can conceive, believe, and achieve. Now, if it was as simple as that, that's perfect. Because everyone's going to tell you, well, I've been thinking about it. It's like the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. So what my mentor said to me, JB, was it's easy to think big, but if you're going to think big and act small, then you're always going to be small. If you're going to think big, you got to act big. So that I think that's the first thing for me, anyways, right? If there's a book actually called The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, if anyone's, if you know, if your friends are watching, I would really recommend that book. So start thinking big, but also acting big, right? And then he said it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting. So think big, but surround yourself with individuals that's going to help fuel or ignite your dreams. And JB, that's what you
Boom.
do every day, right? You talk about
Boom. I love it. I love it.
and
Think
and I
big and
think that
act big. It's true, because you're right. We can think big. I want to do, but then we're being small. That's a great, great analogy. Think big and act big.
yeah. I remember when you told me about books when you and I first met on we talked about books, starting book series, and now you're I don't know anybody who's more successful than JB Owen. Right?
Thank you so much.
Like how many books have you now published?
Well, we are over 700 authors, so we're very
700.
blessed.
Yeah,
We're super blessed and grateful. And folks, you can always find our books. And let's talk about Gordon's book, because I'm so blessed to be in Gordon's upcoming book, Q1 of 2023. The new Landed for Success book is coming out. I'm sharing my story in it. Gordon's sharing his story in it. Tell us a little bit about that book.
amazing. Well, JB, thank you so much. So in my hand is volume 2, Landed for Success. So I mentioned earlier that Jay and I wanted to share our story, have others share their story with us. So we published 2 volumes already. So volume 3, Untold Stories, is coming up. We're going to be launching in Q1 this year. And thank you for sharing one of your stories in there as well. If I could share maybe a quick story with you from the book, one of the individuals who shared the story in the book. I remember having a conversation with this individual. Like you mentioned earlier, a friend introduces a friend. And when I had a conversation with her, she was explaining to me that her husband walked out on her and her 2 little girls when they were, I believe, when they were around 2 years old. Took the matrimonial home. They had a business together, took the business. She was left with $100 in her bank account. Can you imagine? Like, how would you feel if your ex walked out on you and you had $100 left in your bank account and you had 2 little ones to look after? And she explained to me that she said, Gordon, as you're explaining to me how people's stories of their challenges and struggles, perhaps maybe how you survive and thrive, could one day help somebody else, right? Land for Success. She says, this is the community I want to be part of. I want to share my story. And this is the first month, she said, in my direct sales business that I'm making a 5-figure income.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
When
That's the power. Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, when I get my check next month, she gave me the date she was going to get it. Said, I'm going to call you. I'm going to enroll, make my payment, and become an author in the book. And sure enough, she kept her word, right? Because commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood in which you have said it has left you. And Pamela has now been an author in first book, second book, and the third book. And there's so many amazing things she's now doing to give back to her community.
Fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
those are the stories I love.
Yeah, well, reach out and share with her to be on our show. And I just will take a moment to say, folks, if you are igniting humanity, or you know somebody who's igniting humanity, you know somebody who has a really great story, send us a little line, give us an email at share@igniteyou.life. We'd love to hear about people. Gordon, I'm going to jump into a story you told me earlier where you started a hockey school. And I want you to tell this story because a lot of folks again are like, oh, it's great, GB, you're doing that. Oh, it's great, Gordon, you're doing that. But what can I do? What can I do? And folks, I want you to be innovative. I want you to think
Yes.
outside the box, ways that you can do things in your community that are very unique.
Yes.
Quickly, Gordon, we only have a few minutes left, but share a little bit about the hockey story, because I think that's phenomenal.
Absolutely. JB, my son was playing hockey, and one of his best friend was playing hockey as well. So they play hockey, lacrosse together. And we live in the East End of Toronto. The neighborhood we live in, you've got folks with multi-million-dollar homes that do well, and you have folks in that area that they struggle, right? Even maybe pay their rent. And so it's a pretty mixed bag. And as I watch my son grow through the ranks of playing AAA hockey and then junior college hockey, I realized that it's expensive to play. And we were spending like $50, $100 to $200 for hockey schools and lessons. We thought, okay, what can we do to give back to our community? Now I can't skate, and I always tell my friends, JB, I'm better with chopsticks and hockey sticks. So a friend of mine, he played high school hockey. That was it, and so we started a hockey school together, and we would charge $2 a toonie, and kids 4 years old would come and start playing with us. And we had people say to us, you guys will never succeed. You'll never be successful. You guys aren't NHL hockey players, or you're not junior players. But we had kids in the neighborhood who were 15 years old, my son and my friend's son, and a couple of other AAA hockey players. They would do the on-ice instruction. And then we lined up with the school and the community high school with kids, teaching them leadership development as well, where they could actually come and help kids with homework. So it was called hockey and homework. For the first hour, we had kids on the ice, and then the second hour, we would have kids do homework, and they flip. And there were times, JB, sadly enough, when we'd go to collect the toonie, some parents didn't have it, and they would actually go outside for a smoke break just so we can find them to collect the toonie. And I'm not saying that to try to embarrass any of the parents, but I want to share that sometimes we don't have that toonie. I remember when I was so broke, I couldn't even afford a cup of coffee. I've been there. But what's really neat is some of those kids today, one of them just finished playing for Team Canada at the last Olympics. Can you imagine a 4-year-old, $2 skating lessons, suited up for Team Canada? I remember watching the Phoenix Toronto Maple Leafs game a few weeks ago. He scored 2 goals against our team. And I'm like, yeah, way to go, kid. And we have some kids who didn't make the NHL, but some of them they've gone to prep schools, they've gone to colleges and scholarships and Ivy League schools, like Princeton and Harvard, and they're working on Bay Street, they're working on Wall Street. And some of these kids, one of them, I'll finish the story. He, 16-year-old, the dad was an alcoholic, left the family, and he started getting involved in drugs.
Wow. Please, my apologies to cut you off, only because I have 60 seconds left. Okay. That's the power of live television. But folks, reach out to Gordon. So go to Landed for Success, because as you can see, here is a gentleman who's doing phenomenal things on the planet. Tons of wisdom, tons of training, tons of support. I totally feel like Landed Success is something that everybody should be a part of. Super affordable, incredible people. And his story about a toonie changing people's lives, folks, just $2 can change a person's lives. Gordon, we love you. I adore you. Can't wait to come to Toronto and spend more time with you. See you in Hong Kong, hang out with you in India, do all kinds of fun things together. Blessings to you. Have a gorgeous day. And ladies and gentlemen, igniting humanity is possible for each and every one of us. And so if you ignite yourselves, you can ignite others, and that will ignite humanity. Join us each and every weekday as we are here igniting humanity. Blessings to all of you.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.